welcome back, everyone, to Jersey Beach Volley Podcast. I'm your host, Rohan Chatala, and joining us today is Katie Spieler. On today's episode, find out how Katie went from getting the beatdown at family reunions to rapidly climbing the ranks of the AVP, all while juggling the hurdles that life has thrown her way. She even takes the Jersey Citizenship test, so tune in and find out how she did. All right, everyone, welcome back to the show. And today we've got another amazing, exciting guest. We've got Katie Spieler. So Katie, thank you so much for joining us today. How's it going?
It's going great. Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be on the podcast.
No problem. We're excited to have you too. And where are you joining us from again today? You're not from Jersey, so explain to the viewers where you're joining us from.
Yeah, I'm actually from Santa Barbara, California. I live right now in Hermosa Beach, but I'm back in Santa Barbara just with my parents waiting out the quarantine. So It's a good spot to be.
Yeah. Nice. And what's it been like there? Has it been crazy? Has it been quiet? Has it been
so
relaxing?
Hermosa was pretty crazy. They shut down the beaches very early on, and I think just a lot of people were out and about, so they decided to take some, more drastic measures than elsewhere in California. But in Santa Barbara, it's really mellow. Everyone's taking it really seriously. And in Santa Barbara, there's just a lot more open space than in LA. So it's very mellow. And yeah, it's nice being with my family, because in Hermosa, I was more like isolating alone. So it's nice to be surrounded by people.
Nice. Yeah. That's nice. Yeah, I think at least one unexpected side effect of this quarantine is that most people have gone back home.
Yeah.
So it's just nice to spend time with family, and you get to just spend more time that you normally wouldn't have if everything else was just going normally.
Totally.
So that's nice.
Totally. Yeah. I'm in that boat.
So go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, I was just saying that's exactly how I feel, just like cherishing the extra time that I wouldn't have had with them. So
yeah, exactly. So speaking of family, I think we can get started. And the first thing I usually open up my segments with is kind of understanding with people's family and their early life. So I know that you are from a huge volleyball family. So maybe could you just walk us through a little bit about your childhood, how you got into the sport, and what kind of impact your childhood had on your development in volleyball?
Yeah. So my mom is part of a big volleyball family. Both her sisters, she had twin sisters that played collegiately, and then on the WPVA, and then eventually the AVP. So they were kind of at the forefront of women playing professionally in beach volleyball and the start of the tour. So all of my cousins on my mom's side play volleyball, and we grew up just like gunning at each other. So family reunions were just like 10 hours of volleyball a day. And we're all really competitive, but we also just love the sport. So my parents actually had a volleyball net in our backyard all through my years growing up. And so we usually hosted the family reunion. So we would just play one-on-one in the backyard all day. And then I grew up playing at East Beach, and that was definitely the start of falling in love with the game. And I was the youngest child, so my mom would take me everywhere, and she actually didn't put me in preschool. So I just tagged along with her an extra year, and she plays down at the beach weekly. So I would just hang out with her, and I, started asking if I could pass when she was on her breaks and little things like that. So I started playing at a really young age, and I totally fell in love with it. And yeah, still love it just as much as ever. So it's great.
No, it's awesome. And I think it's really cool that you had a parental figure kind of teach you the game. And you had a strong woman figure to look up to who's excelling at the game too. And that's your mom too. So that's really cool. What kind of influence did she have on developing your mindset for the game at a young age?
Yeah, I think the cool thing about my mom is she actually didn't play collegiately, and she didn't play pro. So for her, the game has always been just a really fun sport. She never, went and got to play at that next level, but she has played in the same group of women for 30 years. They play every Wednesday. And I think that just shows like how much she loves the game. And she's been able to continue playing like throughout her life. And I think that a lot of players who get to play at the next level either get injured or they get a little burnout and maybe they don't continue playing in their older years. So I think just her continuous love of the game was really impactful on me. And then I just got the major competitive bug. So that's a great addition. But yeah, I think she's been just a good role model at seeing how I want to like live out this game for my whole life.
Gotcha. And so you mentioned that all the family barbecues and like get-togethers were filled with volleyball. So who would usually come out on top? Was it you?
No, it was always Micah Ma'a. He has like an 150-0 record against me. We would play.
Oh man.
Like I would just always, once I got beat by him, I would just say, let's go again. Let's go again. I don't think I've ever beat him. He's just an insane athlete, but I think that's too what has really helped me, play at the pro level and continue to push, because all my cousins are ridiculously talented. And I never saw myself as, I knew I could play, but it's just so humbling to be around those athletes. And so that when that level of athleticism and talent is kind of the norm and the standard, it's like, man, you got to push, you got to work your game. And so that was really cool. I'm really glad I have a losing record in the family. Great motivation.
No, that's true. That's what Michael Jordan said, right? The only reason he's won so much is because he's lost even more. So you got to take your lickings at some point, and that's what helps you get better.
Yeah, and I would compare Micah Ma'a to Michael Jordan, so that does stand true.
As a kid, then, who did you look up to? Maybe not necessarily in sports, but like who were some of your kind of idols or just people that influenced you outside of your immediate family?
Yeah, well, I was so into volleyball that I would say it was volleyball players. I looked up to a lot of the old school players, like watching Karch Karai play. He's from Santa Barbara, and my mom and her family actually grew up with him. So he was obviously a big role model, but more so for me specifically as a female player, I always looked up to Misty May. And I think that she's just an unbelievable role model for all athletes. But I got to know her a little bit more on a personal level, just like coaching some of her camps, and the way she takes time to give back to athletes and talk to athletes one-on-one. Like I still call her and she gives me stuff to work on. She'll watch film. She's just an incredible person. And I think, it's one thing to be a 3-time Olympic gold medalist, but on top of that, to be so personal, to take time with younger athletes, to give them feedback, help. It's, she's one of a kind. So I think her mentality has always been something I've so admired, and just watching her play and finish games in the last 2 points consistently over and over again, it just shows you that so much of our sport is mental. And I think she is one of the strongest mental players I've seen in this game. So she's my idol and definitely someone I look up to.
No, sir. Yeah, I totally agree with everything you're saying, because the amount of grit and the amount of perseverance that her and Carrie displayed to nab that gold medal, it was insane. And still it's a great match to watch even today. For the rest of, for time, you can watch that over and over again, and it's demonstrated right there. So
totally
great teacher.
Yeah.
So maybe, what about in school? Were you a teacher's pet? What was your favorite subject? Like, was academics, I'm sure it was stressed, but what kind of approach did you take to school?
Yeah, ultimate teacher's pet. Like I was such a rule follower. I actually, to this day, have never gotten less than an A. I don't tell that to many people, but I'm putting it out to the public now. I think I took, to me, I think hard work was instilled in me as something like that I just do. And that went across every aspect of my life. So for me, it was like, okay, if I'm in school, I'm going to go 110% there. And I think, I did a little too much. There was times I should have probably not studied as much, not done the extra credit, but that was just in my personality. And yeah, so all throughout like undergrad and my master's, I didn't get less than an A. And I think by the time I was in my master's program, I'm like, okay, I can't stop now, like I got to continue this. But total teacher's pet, like really loved school. I actually, when I was younger, I would like play school before I got to go to elementary school because I was so jealous of my siblings going to school. So I would be like the teacher and the students. So yeah, I've just like always loved it, and I've loved learning and progressing. And I think that relates to some of my strengths in the sport because I love the analytical side and I really love to see progress and putting in the work. So I think it all relates, just how I kind of approach life.
Yeah, no, I think that totally makes sense. And you have to have that hardworking ethic in all facets, because if you just do it in sports, then the rest of your life and the other pillars that hold it up kind of take a backseat and can crumble a little bit. So it's definitely necessary. And for students of the game, and also just younger athletes listening, that's something I try to just stress, because I mean, getting a scholarship on your athletic prowess alone it's not super easy, and you want to make your life a little bit easier by, also having the grades to help you get there.
Totally. So. Yeah. It's such a great opportunity to like go to college on a scholarship for a sport, because then you're getting this education that's so valuable. So yeah, that's definitely something like in college that I channeled. And I think I realized that it was such a opportunity, to learn. So yeah.
And what exactly did you study again in college?
I did my undergrad in accounting, and then I got my master's in accounting. So it's a pretty non-normal like volleyball career. And
I mean, I can't even say that's not normal. I feel like that's perfectly in line with playing volleyball, because you said yourself you have a very analytical mindset. Yeah. So numbers.
Yeah. No, it fits.
What's the percentage on this, percentage on that? Yeah. It's like you can definitely dissect the game.
That's true. That's very true. Yeah. I don't know how much of the like straight tax accounting I'm going to gravitate towards, but I've been able to use bits and pieces. So yeah.
That's good. So I think that's a perfect way to transition into the next portion of what I wanted to talk about, which is college. And I know there's younger listeners who are wondering, what was college like? What was balancing school with volleyball? And so I guess you could just start off by telling us a little about where you went and what kind of impact that had on you.
Yeah, I went to University of Hawaii, and I hit the college scene at a pretty epic time. There was 14 schools that had beach volleyball when I was a senior. So I was pretty much looking at going to play indoor, largely on the East Coast, actually, and some schools on the West Coast, like just indoor. And then when I saw that beach was a possibility, and I kind of saw it emerging, and I thought, hey, I think this has a big chance of making it as an NCAA sport. I totally switched gears and went the opposite way to Hawaii to take that chance and to get to play beach collegiately. So that was a huge opportunity for me. I think, growing up just loving beach volleyball helped me so much, because with only 14 schools having beach, it wasn't like kids were being prepped, to get a scholarship for beach. So because I loved beach just naturally, it was such a help to, hit it at that timing. And the coaches at Hawaii were super instrumental in getting me to where I am now. They never saw my size as a detriment. They just basically said, okay, like, grind it out, and, we'll have these matches, and whoever wins is going to play, and whoever doesn't isn't going to play. So that was a super helpful mindset for me to have, is they just really believed in me, and they believed in, whoever is winning that's who's going to play. And so I really thrived there. They helped me take my game to the next level. They gave me a ton of resources, and the administration at Hawaii was unbelievable in their support of, my academics, my athletics, everything. I couldn't have asked for more. I think that one thing that I wish I had known as a younger athlete is that, we all have our times in life that are super fun and we're just like hitting our stride and it's amazing. But then we also have times where you are just working and maybe it's not the most fun, but it's going to pay off down the line. And I think that's something that, everyone asks, oh, was your time at Hawaii like the most amazing time of your life? And it was in terms of the volleyball, but I was also studying or practicing 24/7. I really didn't go and explore the island and do a ton of social stuff. And, sometimes I think back and I'm like, oh man, it wasn't the most social time of life in college, but it also got me to the point I'm at now, which is I really feel like I'm just in my element and it's where I've always wanted to be. So I think, it's kind of interesting because a lot of people say college was the most fun 4 years of my life. And I think that our lives are just all different. And so for me, it wasn't oh my gosh, I had the most fun free time, just social. I just worked really, really hard in college. And I loved working hard at that. But then now it got me to where I am. And now I'm just having the most fun ever. So it was huge in my growth and it got me to where I am and super thankful for everything at Hawaii.
Awesome. So I think when you were digging into that answer a little bit, there were two things that came to my mind. So the first thing that it made me really think about was how there's almost a romanticization of the end result. People are always very excited to see that you might have achieved success, but they might not be as interested in seeing, behind the scenes, what it actually takes. There's a huge process, and a lot of the things that most people want to do, you have to do if you want to get that same result.
Totally.
So I think it's a great way that you mentioned that. And also because of Hawaii's system to help you, overcome challenges being a shorter player, you worked hard and you were able to reach those goals. Maybe could you share with us I guess some, if it's okay, what are some some pearls of wisdom that you gained from the Hawaii coaching staff about the game and, just a mentality for the game?
Yeah. So my first 2 years, my head coach was Scott Wong, and we had Danny Alvarez as the assistant. Danny Alvarez actually was the only coach there for all 4 years I was there. But Scott Wong was awesome. I learned a ton from him because he was so different in my, I guess, original mindset or natural mindset. I'm a very, like I said, analytical player. I'm thinking all the time. Scott is so mellow. And one thing he would always say when he was in our box and we were competing is just breathe and battle and actually believe. Those were his 3 things he would always say. And he really instilled this quieter confidence in me, I think. And before, I was a little bit maybe overthinking the game, especially when I was competing. And his whole thing was, hey, you've done the work. Now is your time to just go and relax and flow in the game when you compete. And I think that was huge for me because it was so different from how I'm wired. And so I really gained a lot of that from him, just a quiet confidence, a steady mindset, just letting kind of the game come to me when I'm competing. And then my last 2 years, I had Jeff Hall, who's the current head coach, and he was great in pushing us outside our comfort zone. So he always emphasized jump serving, hand setting, hitting hard, all 3 things that I didn't really do, especially as a smaller player. I wasn't, gunning a jump top spin serve or hitting 90% of the balls. But I think it was so great for me to hear that. And it's now I'm hand setting all the time now. And I'm incorporating a jump top spin serve, and I'm working on my swing. So it's funny how things from college days where you're like, oh, I don't really think I can do that, to now I'm like, Jeff knew what I needed to work on. And then Danny Alvarez was unbelievable all 4 years, just, would come early with me before practice, like an hour early. He was a volunteer assistant. And yeah, he would always put in the extra time because I love to get reps before and after practice. He was always there. He was always there to talk if I needed something. So I think just, putting in that, when an athlete is putting in extra time for the coaching staff to meet that and love that, and, say, hey, Katie's coming in early, you guys should come in early. They just really supported everything that I'm about, and they emphasized it and they accepted it. So yeah, I think all the coaches I had there were amazing.
When you were describing Scott Wong, I mean, I couldn't help but get the image of, I don't know if you've ever seen Rocket Power, but there used to be a character in there called Uncle Tito with some wisdom.
Yeah.
I couldn't help but get that image in my head. So that breathe, so battle, and believe, like that's what the old Hawaiians would say. That's what I thought with Rocket Power.
Yeah, that's so funny. That's exactly. Scott's just super mellow, and it was a great attitude to get from him.
So then, okay, so you mentioned that being a shorter player, you didn't necessarily believe that you could always attack as hard as you could and that kind of mindset. But maybe now that you've kind of overcome that a little bit, what would you say is your best piece of advice for shorter players going up against bigger blockers? Do you really focus more on having sets off the net and attacking deeper into the court? Or at this point, is it kind of more mental and, stay aggressive when you have to, but then kind of place your shots out?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it's something I'm always working on. And right now, what I'm working on is kind of maximizing my offense. I don't think about the other side as much. I actually love a bigger blocker because I think I can use their block a lot if they're up on me. And I think the end goal for me is to be able to attack on the net so that I demand a block. And so I think that's something I'm always working towards and I've gotten better at. I want that block up, so if I'm getting set off, they're pulling and I can work on attacking them there. But I think to establish your offense as a threat right away is really important for any size player. Just to get them thinking, even if they do pull on you, make them think about that pull. They shouldn't just be like, oh, she can't hit, she's going to get set off. It's going to have a loop on it. So that started at Hawaii for sure. That mindset of let's establish a really aggressive offense right out of the gates. And then that will open up your shots and everything. So, my goal is to be set just as a normal player and to be able to go up and attack. And I actually love jousting. So that's one thing too. If it gets too tight, it's like, smaller players kind of have the advantage in a joust sometimes. Yep. So that's something I've loved working on here and there. And yeah, so I think coming in with a really aggressive mindset, whatever size player you are, is important, especially in establishing yourself in the start of a game.
Definitely. And still waiting on the McKibbins to drop their jousting tutorial video because I tend to lose them a lot because I'm 6'1". I'm not that tall, but when I'm blocking, the little guy usually has some sort of just whatever power is behind the ball. So yeah. I'm still trying to figure that out. Can you divulge any secrets on winning jousts, or is that still a trade secret?
I don't think it's a trade secret. There's nothing that I have been like, oh, that's the secret. But I think just being a smaller player, you find yourself in that situation a little bit more because you're under the ball rather than the blocker can be a little earlier than you, and they're oftentimes for me higher. So what I focus on is just being pretty loose, like going up like I'm going to hit. But when I see that it's 50-50, I kind of just push up into them, and then it usually either is a super easy free ball cover for me because I just kind of push up into my own platform and pass it, or it can squeeze past them if their timing is a little off. I definitely think it's something that I learned a bit on playing one-on-one growing up. So those games with Micah, he would come up and like roof me all the time. So I would, work on setting myself tight, but then also working it off his block. And I still play one-on-one all the time, not in my backyard, but just kind of in the off season or in the afternoons after my morning practice when I'm in Hermosa. And I think the one-on-one thing is so helpful and underrated. So for any players that are like, oh, I'm having trouble with some ball control stuff or jousting, like just do short court one-on-one and like have someone who can block you and set yourself tight and try to work around their block. I think just the reps of it, you have to feel out that joust feeling. It's so hard to say like, oh, just get there and like go later. It's such a minuscule thing. So I would say just any ball control drills like that or one-on-one would help you, or any athlete who wants to work on jousting.
Gotcha. All right. Well, now there you have it, guys. You don't need the McKibben video. Now you know exactly what you need to do. So thank Katie for that. But I guess something that I wanted to dig a little bit deeper into, which you mentioned earlier, was when you were shifting your mindset into becoming more aggressive, that definitely must have felt a little bit uncomfortable. So how did you handle being uncomfortable? And in general, how do you handle being in a funk when you're playing? So if nothing is going your way and you feel like you just don't even know how to play volleyball anymore, how do you handle that?
Yeah, that's a really good question. It's something that I've struggled with a lot because I am naturally a really intense person. And I think a lot of people haven't seen that side of me because I have worked on it a lot since I was younger. But when I was younger and I would play and I would get in a funk, I was not pretty to watch. And I learned that early on that doesn't help my game and it's not great for my partner. So something that has definitely helped me is when I'm in a funk with something. So say it's my offense, like you were saying, I'm trying to be more aggressive. It's not working. One thing I try to do is focus on a totally separate part of my game and be really good at that part of my game. So if my offense is struggling, I'm going to get back there and I'm going to hit the best serve I can and I'm going to get them out of system. And I think that not only transitions into me getting maybe a few more points off my serve, but just shifting my mindset to focus on something that I can control in that moment and that I can succeed on. So it's kind of shifting your mindset away from something negative and towards something positive. And once you get that ball rolling, you'll see that it will change your whole game and your whole mindset to just be a little bit more positive and away from the one thing that's not going right, even though you might be doing everything else right. But when we're in that competitive zone and, our offense isn't going well, we think, oh, we're just playing terrible. But maybe your passing's great, your setting's great, your serving is on fire, but you're just focusing on the one negative. So that was my, naturally, I definitely focused on the negatives more and got frustrated when things weren't turning out perfectly. So yeah, just shifting focus to a different skill and something maybe more positive. And that can also be just shifting your focus to being a better partner and really being vocal, communicating, anything that's in your control, that you can control that positive outcome and then shift your mindset.
Yeah, definitely. Because when you play at the highest level, for such as yourself on the AVP, it's these littlest things in your mindset that will ultimately determine the outcome of, tight games and just your success. So I think that's a very valuable piece of advice. In terms of maybe your goals for the upcoming season, what are you rolling with?
Yeah, I don't ever really have written down goals that I'm like, okay, I got to hit this. This is a benchmark. but I definitely have them within me. And I think one thing this season that I want to do is really push myself to do the maybe uncomfortable things that I have been working on a lot in off season. So for me, that's hand setting, sometimes jump top spin serving, not all the time, coming in really aggressive. And I think, those for me are more than like, okay, I want to make it to Sunday, because I want to, at the end of the day, I want to get better every game and every season. And I think for me, I have to find ways to, be a better setter by like that 1%, which for me is hand setting. And so I think, my goals are just to stick with the things I've been working on and put them to the test in competitions and just get better with every game. I'm way more concerned about like pushing my potential and seeing how far I can take like my small frame and what I can do with it than like notching in the wins, because I think especially for beach volleyball athletes, there's so many ups and downs, and you just have to get a more long-term perspective than the individual game or even season. So those are some of my goals.
No, I think that's you perfectly mentioned that. And when you described this as the ups and downs, you made me think of, the emotion, managing the emotional roller coaster of the weekend or however long your tournament is. So that makes me kind of wonder, what did the emotions you felt when you first made your qualifier feel like versus when you made your first Sunday? And how do you manage those feelings?
Yeah, that's a great question. Very similar. I think for the qualifier, it was more, I would almost say the qualifier was like more exciting. Like my first time making it to the main draw. Coming out of the qualifier, I talk about this all the time with other athletes, is like no other feeling. It's just because it's such, it's like you've made it to the chosen land, but it's so hard to come out of those qualifiers. And I think that, I lived in the qualifier my first year on tour, and Carissa and I would get out of the qualifier time and time again, and then get some wins in the main draw and have some pretty good finishes. And to me, that was so much more than like being in the main draw, staying in the winner's bracket. Like just, it's so indescribable to come out of the qualifier and then get some wins. It's like nothing else. So I think for any athletes that are in the qualifier, like that is an awesome time of growth and development. And, I'm like pretty much back in the qualifier. So you're never like out of the qualifier. You can always go back in, and it's a great place, because if you don't win, then you shouldn't be in the main draw. Like it's tough. So I think, it's great to have to grind through that. Such good, like mental growth, physical growth. But then making my first Sunday, I think, was kind of surreal. I think we were just like, what happened? Like, we're just out here playing fun volleyball. And we didn't even really like Carissa really didn't realize that we had won the game when we did. I was like totally celebrating, but I think that's kind of the like flow state that I play best in, is when you're not realizing, oh, if we do this, we're into Sunday. And that's when we definitely play our best volleyball. So I'm always trying to channel that from Austin. We were definitely just out there having fun. And that's always something that I'm trying to find, is how can I play loose? How can I play without thinking about the next play or the implications? So both are great feelings, but a little different.
Yeah, definitely. And obviously the goal is to keep chasing Sundays, but making sure you're getting one step better along the way.
Totally.
And so I guess you mentioned the term fun volleyball. So I think one thing that's also very important along anyone's volleyball journey is to make sure you're having fun. And I guess I'm wondering if the higher the level you get to, does that kind of impact or impede your ability to just play fun volleyball when there's like thousands of dollars on the line? Like, how do you block that out?
Yeah, I think so. A few things have really helped me. I'm like just such a volley enthusiast. So like I said, I've never really been burnt out of volleyball. Like I
Mm-hmm.
love it just as much now as I did when I was like 5, picking
Mm-hmm.
up the volleyball for the first time. But I think another huge thing for me, because like you said, as you play more and more, there's more on the line, is having a partner who it's just an undeniable fun chemistry on the court. And I've
Mm-hmm.
had that pretty much my whole career, which I feel super grateful for. Carissa Cook is the ultimate just relaxed player, just playing like there's nothing on the line, doing big things with a lot of pressure and making it look like she's just playing fours on a Sunday. Like
Mm-hmm.
she just has such a mellow attitude, and she loves the game, but she also doesn't take it herself that seriously, I'd say,
Mm-hmm.
which is so cool. And something I learned from her is she always would say, like, hey, we're literally just playing like this stupid game of keeping the ball off the sand. Like, this is so dumb, but we're so obsessed with it. So she really put things in perspective there. And I got to play with her for 3 years. So I took a lot from her in kind of that attitude of not taking ourselves and the game so seriously and just putting it in perspective that we get to play a game for a living and it's really fun, but there's going to be ups and downs, but we also have to put those into perspective.
Mm-hmm.
There's worse things in the world than losing a volleyball match.
Yep.
So that was really helpful. And then right now I'm playing with Delaney Knudsen, and she is probably the most like happy, positive person I know. And something fun that fans or friends or family would always say to us this past season was, we could not tell if you were losing or winning this whole season. And we'd be down like 20-10. And I'd look over at Delaney and she's just smiling and serve receive, just so excited, even though we're about to lose by 10 points, 11 points.
Mm-hmm.
So I think for me, partner selection is so huge. And especially in our sport, there's only one other person on the court with you. So I think that's something that is maybe a little overlooked is, we want to be the best team physically out there, but to be the best team physically and to compete at the highest level you can, I think you have to have a partner who is complimenting you mentally. And for me,
Mm-hmm.
that's someone who's really loving playing and they're not just in it for the money, at
Mm-hmm.
the end of the day. So that's definitely been when I'm playing my best volleyball with someone else, is when we're in that mindset. So that's who I've gravitated playing with, which has worked out well.
Gotcha. And I love that you mentioned that throughout the season, you could never tell if you were winning or losing, whether you were up 21-0 or down 21-10. I think that's amazing because not only does it show the kind of spirit that you have to have, but it's also such a good example for anyone else who's watching, especially when you watch yourself on film. The worst is when you have your head down and like you're like,
Yeah.
oh, like that. You hate that when you observe yourself doing it. But just thinking about all the younger, students, the game and fans, it's such a positive role model influence. So that's something that's, you might not necessarily think about, but it definitely has impact on people. So that's really nice.
Yeah, I definitely can thank my partners because I have a tendency to do that, like head down, get frustrated. But yeah, so important. And it makes you play better if you avoid doing that. So, yeah.
And so I think you mentioned again that when you're playing your best volleyball, it's fun volleyball. And I know we've all seen it when we watch you play. And there's also two other specific people who kind of honed in on that. And those two people would have to be Carly and Wayne. And so I want to talk a little bit about your sponsorship for the upcoming season by Great American Volleyball. What's that been like? And what's your relationship with Carly and Wayne?
Yeah, they're one of the most, or both of them were the most influential people last summer for me. I wrote an article about them for AVP, but just a quick summary. I met Carly at maybe 2 years ago because I actually run a club in Santa Barbara, beach volleyball club, and we are AVP America affiliate. So when they merged with AVP, I started getting emails from Carly and Wayne, and that's who my club was now under.
Mm-hmm.
So I got to know them a little bit. And then Eric Zahn actually knew them really well because he's from Jersey. He kind of grew up in their club and helping out with them and playing in their tournaments. So when he found out that connection, that my club was kind of under them, he's like, oh, Katie, I got to introduce you to them. Like, they're awesome. They love you. So at one of the tournaments, AVP tournaments, where they had a tent, he introduced me to them. And since then, I have just been amazed by everything they do and just who they are. So last summer, they were at almost every event that I played in, and I played in a ton of events. And I would just go to their tent in between every game and just talk with them. And they helped me so much, just kind of get in the mindset of being able to play my next game. I struggled a lot with just like when I was playing a game, I was totally good. But when I wasn't, it was a little tough last summer in between games. And Carly just is the most amazing person. She's so fun to talk to. She does so much for our sport with Wayne and everything. So I just spent a ton of time with them last year at tournaments, and I actually got to come out to Jersey and run a clinic for their club with all their girls. And so I've just gotten to, know them on the youth level of AVP, and then also at my events when I am competing, and they've helped me so much. And I continue to learn from them, about how to run organizations in beach volleyball and just life lessons. So super excited to be part of the GAV family and continue that relationship and learning from them. So, yeah.
Awesome. So I don't know if you knew or not, but the whole sponsorship is contingent on you becoming a Jersey person. So I have to implement a standardized Jersey test on you right now, starting with this great question. Taylor ham or pork roll? Answer carefully.
Wait, what?
Taylor ham or pork roll? You have to choose which one's the correct terminology for this famous breakfast sandwich that New Jersey is known for.
Oh my gosh, I have no idea, but I'm going to go with the second one. Is that pork roll?
Pork roll. Pork roll.
Yes. I'm going to go with pork roll.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree. I think that's the correct answer. But there are people in South Jersey who say Taylor ham, and we don't trust those people. So then,
good. I passed.
There's one more question, actually, though. You have to answer this one carefully, too. Which AVP stop needs to come back?
New Jersey.
Okay, good. Yeah, AVP Belmar. I thought you were going to say Santa Barbara.
Belmar.
Yeah, that's fine. You're close enough. So I thought you would have said Santa Barbara. So I was like, all right, if she says that, then it's over.
I knew the test, although I do wish Santa Barbara was back. Actually, Santa Cruz. I would like a new stop in Santa Cruz. I think that would be awesome. Yeah. But I'm going to say Belmar.
Yeah. Honestly, I think the first AVP I ever saw was Belmar, if I remember correctly, back when they started playing like in high school, and like that's when I got hooked. So it'd be nice to have.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And then I guess with Jersey, do you see yourself playing any tournaments in Jersey this year, or maybe any East Coast tournaments such as Pottstown, which Eric loved playing in?
Yeah, totally. I am really excited to come to the AVP America Nationals, which is in Atlantic City, and it's at, I think, the end of July. So I'm really hoping that event stays. It's like a youth event, a AVP Next Gold event. So it's a ton of different tournaments going on at once. And it's also like a big banquet. So I think it's like a week-long event. And I know Carly and Wayne have been spending a lot of time planning it out, and it sounds awesome. So definitely planning on playing that one. And then I've never played Pottstown, So I would love to do that this year. I played a lot of firsts last summer that Eric had played and I hadn't played. So I really wanted to go. Played Walpaca and a few others I had never played in. But yeah, anytime I can get to New Jersey and play, I will do it because I love visiting people there and I just love like the people there in general. So
Yeah, now we're better than California. And East Coast is the best coast, so that's a fact.
It is. I think I was supposed to be born there in a prior life, but
oh man,
well.
That's okay. Next life.
Yeah.
Okay, so I know we're getting closer towards the end of the hour, and I want to be respectful of your time. So to finish off, is there anything else that you would just want to say to anyone coming up on the game? Or I guess this is my kind of version of Sandcast, their previous segment where they would just ask what would you say to someone? Is there anything new that you would say, or is it kind of the same message?
A little bit the same. I would just say, whatever position you're in, say you're smaller or say you don't live by the beach or you've never had a coach. I think the main thing that I've learned is if you really love something and you're just fueled by that love of it and you give all you have because you want to at it, you're going to succeed more than you would think. So it really doesn't matter what route you take. And I think that's something that I so loved about Eric's story is, he wasn't the average AVP player. He grew up in New Jersey. He played beach a lot, but, from the East Coast is a little different than most AVP players who are born kind of on the beach in a huge volleyball family. That's kind of like the average player, I would say. So I loved his story of, he wasn't in a huge volleyball family and he didn't play beach until a little bit later in life. And he was on the East Coast, but he found that he loved it and he moved when he needed to, and he was unbelievable. So, and for me, I'm a shorter player and no one sees me and says, "Oh, are you a beach volleyball athlete?" Like I never have gotten that. So I think those are all things that make us stronger and make us want it more and work harder. And so, yeah, I would just say like anything that a younger athlete or even just younger person, anything that you love, it's really, that's the thing. Like you just have to have that passion for whatever it is and you will succeed more than you think. And I think, that's something that's hard to realize as a younger person because it seems so hard to get to your dreams or to get to your goals. But yeah, if you just believe in that passion and go for it, you can really surprise yourself.
100%. Definitely agree with that. Okay. Right before I let you go, on the closing bell, we're going to do the last segment. Rapid fire, or no one's done this yet, and I don't know if you're going to try it out or not, but rapid fire or are you smarter than a fifth grader? Your choice.
Oh my God. I think I would fail that as your.
No,
are you smarter?
Come on, you're a nerd. You're a straight A student. You can do it.
I know, but that's because I studied a lot. I don't know about the quick twitch brain use.
I think you could do it. I believe in you.
I would rather do rapid fire.
That's fine. That's fine.
If you want to make an executive.
No, we could do rapid fire. That's fine. We'll see. Okay. We'll get someone to do it eventually. But rapid fire.
You can get a really smart person to do it.
All right. So rapid fire, we'll begin with this first question. What song is stuck in your head right now?
Everywhere by Fleetwood Mac.
Favorite drink?
Kombucha.
Early bird or night owl?
Not an early bird, so I'll say night owl.
All right. Do pineapples belong on pizza?
No.
Oh my God. Favorite vacation destination?
I would say Austria.
Ooh. Favorite comedian?
I'll say Dave Chappelle.
Did you see his new special where he accepted the Mark Twain Award for a comedy or something?
No, I didn't.
Watch that. It's amazing.
Okay.
All right. And last question. what is your favorite piece of trash talk to use after you hit a high line, a cutty, or you bounce it or whatever?
Oh, to use?
Yes.
Ooh. That's really tough. I'm going to reverse that on you, even though I should be answering, but my favorite trash talk used against me was, "Isn't it past your bedtime?" At a high school game, because I looked like I was like in elementary school when I was in high school. So I'm going to reverse that because I don't have many good personal trash talks.
You can use that then.
So
you can use that on
if anyone wants to use that on me, go ahead, because I love it.
All right, so that's the best piece of trash talk we received / heckle, so that works.
Yes.
Awesome. All right, Katie, thank you so much again for dropping in today. We really appreciate it, and have a great rest of your day.